I just want to talk about something that irks me, specifically in the music industry. Why do music artists change their sound while maintaining the same name? I really don't understand it. It's like a massive finger to your initial fan base, the ones that supported you at the very beginning, being used as a skipping stone towards a broader, more lucrative music genre or fan base. I understand if an artist feels like they have to evolve, but at that point, just use a different alias to represent the shift in music. I'm a big fan of all kinds of music, barring country and folk music. That just isn't for me. I'd say I predominantly listen to, and God do I hate to use this term, EDM. I grew up listening to Eurodance, Eurobeat, house, progressive house, trance, hard trance, techno, hardstyle, hardcore, drum and bass, breakbeat, and a bunch of blends and styles in between. In this area of music, it's not uncommon for new genres to emerge from mixing and matching different elements that make other genres work. For example, happy hardcore, to put it simply, is a more upbeat version of hardcore music. So I'm familiar with artists experimenting with sounds and techniques, and I'm perfectly content with it. But what bothers me is when they abandon the sound altogether, and don't have the decency to use a different alias to mark their change in sound and future direction. I have two examples of this: Headhunters and Tiesto. I'll start with Tiesto. This guy was such a huge driving force in the spread of early trance music, and one of the first superstar DJs. You've probably heard of him, as he's incredibly popular in the EDM festival and club scene. But he has long abandoned his roots and has even gone on record stating he refuses to talk about his involvement in trance in any interviews. This guy, alongside guys like Ferry Corsten, Armin van Buuren, Paul Oakenfold, and Above and Beyond, owes his meteoric success to his early supporters, the ones that bought and listened to his legendary mixes, like In Search of Sunrise, Forbidden Paradise, Magic, and packed his shows. But as his fame grew, so did his appetite for money. Tiesto was huge in Europe, which was the mecca for trance and other types of electronic music, but was a nobody in the US. I would know, I was one of the kids blasting his music in the States, with many of my friends wondering what the hell I was listening to. To them, The idea of listening to music without lyrics or vocals was completely foreign. Most of them disliked it, but I loved it, and I continued learning more about this world of music. By the time I was a teenager, the start of electronic music adoption was on the horizon, and alongside it, club and festival culture. And who was one of the big names taking this new movement by storm? You guessed it, Tiesto.
I feel you in my bones. You're knocking at my window. Escape me.
Every time I come in and I step up in the building and we let the fire sizzle. Hope you know we gotta run on, cause you gotta know that when we get it started, whenever I'm in the spot that we...
Come take me home till the sun comes up, till the sun comes up. Take me home.
Tiesto abandoned trance music in favor of more easily listenable pop/house music, with big names to break into the new trend that would eventually culminate to the explosion of EDM in pop culture of the 2010s.
Come on.
Every day I'm shuffling.
First, let me take a selfie.
I am Titanic. We found love in a hopeless place.
Bonfire.
I can't stop.
If you notice, none of the songs taking over the culture were trance. It was music that was easily digestible and straight to the point, almost formulaic. Now, I'm not hating on house music. I actually think some of the songs out of this era are incredible and will be definite classics, but it's a long ways away from trance music. Trance is known for its 10-minute long tracks, with repetitive and atmospheric build-ups and layers of pads, synths, and chords building beautiful melodies. And while some are more danceable, there's still longer investments, and if there's anything you should know about American culture, it's that we cannot handle long delays for gratification. We need our dopamine. Americans lose interest very quickly, so you need to capture their attention immediately. Trance is all about the journey, not necessarily the destination. Though some tracks definitely have amazing payoffs. Tiesto realized that trance would not catch on in the US and decided to chase the money and alter his sound. And hey, everyone's got their own motives, but at least rebrand yourself. Oh what, you can't because all the respect and accolades you earned during your trance days are too important? What's even worse is figuring out that most of the tracks that propelled Tiesto into the limelight were not even produced by him. They were made by these guys. So I guess it was a simple change for him to make, since there was probably very little attachment to the sound he popularized. All he had to do was find other ghost producers or tell his previous ones to change the sound to something more palatable for the new audience. I'm sure he enjoyed the music and had an ear for what sounded good, but that's the extent of the compliments I can afford Tiesto. But it still annoys me that when I mention I like Tiesto, I'm either met with approval from new fans or disgust by old ones. Instead, I have to emphasize which tracks I like to make it a point that I liked Tiesto back in the day, and what back in the day actually means. Swapping from trance, another mainstay in my formative years was hardstyle. Or what used to be hardstyle. I swear, I'm not a hipster, but the genre has morphed into an earfuck that I cannot stomach. The new kicks and screeches are not my thing, and are so far removed from the thumping kicks and reverse bass, melody forward sound that I grew to love. But before hardstyle evolved into what it is today, one man was at the forefront of the genre.
Headhunters.
Willem Rebergen, or Headhunters, was a young and rising star in the scene that became a powerhouse with hit after hit. Initially a duo with Bobby Van Putten, Willem would eventually continue the project alone and without missing a beat. This guy was truly striking gold with every release, and I was immediately a fan. And while other artists were also growing on me, Headhunters was just something special. But it only took a few years for his sound to start shifting before he eventually abandoned hardstyle altogether. He wanted to cash in with the same audience Tiesto was aiming for, and fellow hardstyle act Showtek were already making a somewhat decent transition. It was short-lived. He failed to capture the same love and adoration that the hardstyle scene had showered him with. He had a few okay singles, but nothing memorable, and quickly fell to the wayside of the EDM scene. All the while, hardstyle maintained its core audience in Europe, with new artists coming in and filling the void he left behind. But the scene would often ask if the hardstyle prodigy of old would eventually make his return. I think Willem realized this and went back to his roots, even lamenting ever leaving and having performances filled with tears and emotions.
Since I got the microphone in my hands, I just want to say this, right? Defcon, all the hardstyle crowd around the world, I just want to let you know I miss you guys so fucking much.
And while I was extremely excited to hear Headhunters was coming back, I was already abandoned by the scene itself. It had moved on and I remained, stuck in the sound from 2005 to 2010. The only act that I cared for that came after this era was Wasted Penguins, but only really their first album, Wistfulness. I didn't have high hopes that Headhunters returning would steer the scene back to the sound that I loved. And I was right, he didn't. Headhunters molded to the new sound like a natural, as if he never left. So now, I have to say, I like old Headhunters, because he continued under the same name and project instead of starting anew, when he had the perfect opportunity to refresh his brand. I don't know, it just feels like a constant reminder of something you lost when an artist continues with the same name while changing their sound radically. I wish more artists instead were like Ferry Corsten, who does a great job experimenting with his sound by using aliases. Moonman, System F, Goriella, Bypass, Albion, Varacocha, Vimana. This guy has so many aliases and for so many different sounds. Hell, when he wanted to dabble into ambient music, he made another alias, Fur. Think about it. If you only enjoy his ambient work, how difficult would it be to tell someone you like Ferry Corsten when 95% of his catalog is trance if he had used the same alias? Now sure, some Ferry Corsten tracks are wildly different than others, but he remains relatively consistent. Maybe I'm going full retard here, but it's something that I wish would catch on. But I don't think it will, since most people don't care that much about what they listen to or put much thought about what their music taste is. I understand that I'm most definitely in the extreme minority when it comes to this feeling. People seem to be fine with just saying that they like certain songs or albums. They might like Kanye's Graduation or 808s and Heartbreak albums, but hate everything else, but won't care to make the distinction when they say they like Kanye's music. And that seems to work for them. But I guess for me, I'll have to stick to naming individual tracks or albums for the sake of clarity, as if anyone cares. That's it for this rant. I hope you guys enjoyed the first video that goes away from political or news related topics. I don't mean to do them, but it's usually hard to ignore. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on the next one.